Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight I'm going to be replacing an XT60 connector on two different quadcopters, and I thought, hey, I'm going to make a video. So this is not necessarily a how-to, it's just I have to do something. I figured why not make a YouTube video about doing it. So first I'm going to do my XT60 connector on my, this is my TBS Source 1 frame. I don't have to take anything else apart, I just have to take and remove the XT60 leads. So what I'm going to do first is get on in there with some rosin flux because it makes it easier. All you're going to do is just heat and tug. There's the red, and next will be the black. Should come real easy. There it is. Ooh. Not a pad, but oh, so close to pulling a pad. So we're gonna get right back in there and tin the bejesus out of that. Some of that is silicone conformal coating that's on there, so it is kind of gunky. But there we go. We've got it off there. So, all right, I've decided I'm gonna make one instead of reusing one. Unfortunately, that means I lose the capacitor, which means my video quality is probably going to suffer, but cross that bridge when we come to it. So let's get my cables ready to go, and I'm going to tin these up. They're already a little tin, but why not? We're just going to make sure that they're nice and saturated. So here we go. Woo! Nice and tinned, and nice and tinned. So I'm just making my own jumper here, and I'm just going to use an XT60 fitting that I have laying around, and that I find to be a lot easier, honestly. And that's what this guy is. So these are pretty cheap. I think these are a great alternative to buying a bunch of XT60s, because like cables that are already made, like pigtails, because you can make it exactly how long you want it. It's really easy to do this. There's really not much to it. You just apply a little bit of heat, feed some solder in. There we go. Okay, and we're gonna get the positive on the positive side. Pretty easy to do. You just heat and feed. Hold it. Give it a good sharp tug. Make sure she ain't going anywhere. Make sure that solder's shiny. All right, let's do it again. One more time. We can do this. I'm going to actually clip this one like here. It'll make it a little easier. Wire does heat up quite a bit, so you just have to make it quick. If your iron's hot enough, this should be no problem. You don't have to be there for very long. And we're heating, heating, heating. Same thing, make sure it really gets in there. Hold it, don't let go. Give it a couple of seconds. It does take a second for it to cool. Pull on it, give them both a good sharp tug. They are making continuity. I know it. Now I'm going to really wiggle them around. I want to make sure there's no chance of this thing coming undone. They look good to me. Probably not like the best job I've ever done ever on something like this, but it will get the job done. Now, heat shrink. Fun stuff. Alright, this should definitely do it. Oh yeah. You want it to be snug, but you also want it to, like, when you go to shrink it, that it actually has something, you know, to shrink. And that should be the case here. I am one of those guys that takes a lighter out, not a heat gun, and I just give it a quick flame. There are some applications you would never do this. This is not one of them. Feel free to do this for pieces of rubber and plastic. Don't do this if it's like a battery or something. And even then. Don't use a butane lighter, kids. Just a, well, not a torch lighter anyway. We gotta make sure we get red to red and black to black. I'm gonna actually cut these a little short. And that should do it. Right there. And I'm gonna tin these up. Get them nice. Honestly, you don't need much more than what I've exposed here. This is as much wire as you need. It's honestly probably even too much, to be perfectly honest with you. Feed that solder in. Now normally I would put some flux on here, but it's, for something like this, it's not really that big of a deal. I already got it where it counts down there. Alright, now I'm going to get my hemostats, clamp, or whatever you call the little crooked one. And I'm going to hold her on, and it's going to be quick and easy. Here we go, it's going. That's it, she's in. That's red, and now for negative. Same dealio, we got just enough tin left. And that's it. Ooh, want to watch to make sure they don't bridge. Okay. Let's give it a quick close up with the magnifying glass. They look good. What I like to do, and this is personal preference, is I like to take this brush here and kind of just go over it, make sure all that rosin is out of the way. You don't want anything left on there, honestly, if you can avoid it. Some people leave their flux, rather, their rosin flux. I don't. I like to get it off, just because I've had issues where it does cause shorts. So enough of it will. Alright, now we're going to do the smoke stopper test. Now this is my smoke stopper, and I'm not having to go get a battery because I've made my own little power supply. So here we go. The smoke stopper fitting is actually a little loose, if you can believe that, so you have to kind of hold it. That's it, she's good to go. So this is the Armatan Chameleon frame. I've had some issues going on with this quad. It flipped out in the middle of a flight, and I think the problem is that the positive lead came loose off the side of the 4-in-1 ESC. Now, barring anything else going on, it wasn't wet yet. It hadn't crashed into the snow. The other possibility is that I've got mixed motors here, like my other quad, where I've got the 2300 and the 2400, two different style motors mounted. The AVs are different. Stator sizes are pretty close. But I don't know if with one it was fine, maybe with two the flight controller is having issues. I don't know, but this I did definitely find, and maybe it did just brown out and cause it to flip out. So what we're gonna do, so we're gonna detach this from it, and then we're going to try to reattach it, because I have the capacitor built in and I really don't want to lose it, because I know this is still working, this plug is still working. So if I can just tin it and reattach it to the 4-in-1 ESC, I'll be a happy camper. Just does not want to heat that ground. I'll tell you, ground is one of the hardest joints to get. Okay, let's clean the joint. Oh, let's clean the... Ugh. This may not be salvageable. There's a lot of braiding left over. That is not great. I need to clean all that off. Alright, re-tin the pad. And same thing on the negative. Those grounds, I'll tell you what, man. They can take a lot of heat. Let's see if we can't salvage this little connector. I don't think we're going to be able to, but we can try. What I may end up doing here is cutting away at some of this heat shrink and just sort of peeling it back. That may just be enough. But I really like these connectors because they have a built-in capacitor. Really makes it a lot easier to install. So it looks like we've got most of that off of there. Alright, let's get this tinned. This should be okay. Alright. Now let's get that back on the quad. Red to red, black to black. Let's see what happens here. There's red. There's black. So that kind of sucks when you're trying to test like intermittent connection issues. My battery's up here. This should be okay. Just making sure my connector's good. Oop. She's good to go, as far as I can tell. Just try to arm it. Yep. Seems okay to me. If you want to know how to make one of these, I actually have a video showing how I did this with a 12-volt power supply and a XT60 connector. So it's pretty much solder positive to positive, negative, negative. I have an old Netgear power brick, and there I don't have to go get a battery. And it's actually, it kind of works as a smoke stopper because there's only like 1 amp current that can go through here, where this thing's designed to stop 2. So if there was a dead short, that thing would probably cut off as well. So there you go. That's 2 XT60 connectors in one evening. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. You know, why not?